Welcome back, everyone. Today's video is going to be an exciting one. I am going to be helping you choose which Disney resort to pick when you book your next Disney vacation. Now, Disney resorts, they have 3 different categories. You have value, moderate, and then deluxe resorts. Obviously, the value is, of course, the cheapest ones. Of course, they're still amazing because they're on Disney property. You also have moderate, which is the in-between prices. And then you have deluxe if you're wanting to go all out and plan on spending some bucks. So stay tuned. Now, my goal is slowly but surely to try and stay at every Disney resort. Starting off strong with this one is going to be Disney's Contemporary Resort. Now, this is going to be club level. Now, club level is obviously going to be the most expensive because club level is including food, snacks, and so on. I'm not going to get into too much on club level because that's a whole different video in itself. And I do have several videos on the club level experience, but I'm just showing you this more for the resort, for the hotel rooms. When it comes to club level, you're going to have the same type of bedroom. I just want to show you what you are getting when you stay at Disney's Contemporary Resort. Obviously, you have the monorail access, which is super convenient if you're wanting to go to Magic Kingdom, the Ticket and Transportation Center to head to Epcot, and so on. Now, even though I've stayed at many of the resorts, I still find myself wondering what resort I should stay at next because it really does matter. So for instance, if you are wanting to have a Magic Kingdom day, you want to pick a resort that does have that easy accessibility as far as being able to hop on the monorail or being able to hop on a bus. Now, keep in mind, any of the Disney resorts, they do have bus transportation, so that's not an issue. If you're wanting that specialized transportation, however, such as the monorail, there's only 3 resorts that are going to provide that. It's going to be Disney's Contemporary Resort, Disney's Polynesian Resort, and Disney's Grand Floridian Resort. Now, those 3 resorts are, of course, considered the deluxe because they are the pricier, because they are located on the monorail loop. Now, choosing which resort that you want on the monorail just comes down to theming. For instance, Disney's Contemporary Resort has a spacey type feel with Incredibles theming, the movie Incredibles. And then you have Disney's Grand Floridian Resort, which of course is Victorian styled and super duper fancy. And then you have Disney's Polynesian Resort if you're wanting to have that Polynesian Hawaii type feel. So now, usually when I'm staying at one of those resorts is because I am centering my Disney vacation around going to Magic Kingdom mainly, because if you're going to be on the monorail, you want to have that access to Magic Kingdom, as well as you can do some resort hopping, which is always fun, going from restaurant to restaurant and so on. Of course, like I said, you have bus access. Also with Disney's Contemporary Resort, you can walk to Magic Kingdom as well, so you're going to keep that in mind. So my videos aren't going to be in any type of sequence as far as moderate, value, deluxe. They're just kind of all scattered around. I won't be narrating the whole hour video, but I will be providing captions so you guys have an idea of which resort is coming up next. And I'll also be giving you some tips and captions as I think about them as the video goes on. Now, this is Disney's Port Orleans Resort. We were staying specifically at this resort this time around because I wanted to try their Disney Princess themed room. And you will see what I'm talking about coming up. And I believe it's not called Disney Princess theme room, but it's royal room, something or another. Now, it's going to be a little bit more expensive than the regular rooms, but at Port Orleans Resort, this is considered a moderate resort. So it's not value, it's not deluxe, it's going to be moderate. Now, these royal rooms are only located at Disney's Port Orleans Riverside Resort because they only have a small section of these royal rooms. So just keep that in mind. Now, these rooms typically go for, I've seen them in between $250 to about $370 a night. So just keep that in mind. But the theming of this one's absolutely beautiful. Now, the key thing is if you're wanting to stay at Disney's Port Orleans Resort, you have your boat access to Disney Springs, and of course you have your bus access to the parks. Now, this resort does not have gondola access. It doesn't have monorail access. This is solely having access to, like I said, Disney Springs through the boat, which is amazing. Now, I've stayed at this resort. If I am specifically doing maybe just some shopping on this Disney trip and I'm going to Disney Springs, going to Boathouse, going to the restaurants, or just doing like a little staycation at the resort, if you will. Coming up ahead, you will see that boat access. You'll also see the beautiful theming of the resort all around. Obviously, it is New Orleans style everything. They have an amazing pool. So this is what helps me make my decisions. Like I said, is based on what park I'm going to, what my plans are for my Disney trip. So this time around, it was going to be only a Disney Springs type vacation. So I wanted that easy boat access. Super easy to get on the boat, head on over to Disney Springs, and so on. Now, the next thing I have coming up is going to be the gondola resorts. So gondola resorts include, that's the Skyliner access. I don't know why I call it gondola, but Skyliner access. So the Skyliner gets you to Epcot and Hollywood Studios. And the resorts that have the Skyliner access is going to be Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort, Art of Animation, and Disney's Pop Century Resort. So those are the only 3 resorts that will have that Skyliner access. So coming up in this video as well, I will be showing you Disney's Caribbean Beach and Art of Animation. Now, I've also been to Pop Century, so I have other videos with room tours. But like I said, this video is more just to help you see get an overall idea of how the Disney resorts are. I'm not getting specifically into each room tour, and so on. But like I said, if you're interested in seeing Disney's Pop Century Resort, I do have all the videos. I also have a little playlist that's titled Orlando and Disney Resorts that I recommend. And you can see all the resorts in that playlist. So, moving on, if you want the Skyliner access, if you feel like on your Disney trip you're going to be going to Epcot and Hollywood Studios mainly, then I would recommend staying at Art of Animation, Disney's Caribbean Beach, or Pop Century Resorts. Now, those are going to be moderately priced hotels. Those are not deluxe hotels. So, very cost effective. You're not going to break the bank, and you're still going to get that amazing Skyliner access. Super convenient. Now, I also forgot to mention that another Skyliner resort is going to be Disney's Riviera Resort. That one I have not stayed at yet because I feel like every time I go on my Disney trips and I try to book it, it's booked for the basic room that I want. So Disney's Riviera Resort is going to be in that deluxe, pricier tier. But that does have Skyliner access as well, and it's located right next to Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort. So also, fun fact, if you're staying at Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort and you're in one of the farther buildings that are closer to Disney's Riviera Resort, you can actually hop on Disney's Riviera Skyliner, which is like one less stop, but they do allow that. So in one of my Disney Caribbean Beach videos, which I'll probably link with this video, you'll be able to see how we were able to use Disney's Riviera Resort's Skyliner. So I digress, and it's going to be 4 resorts that are on Disney's Skyliner. Now, I'm just winging this video and the things that I'm talking, so if I forget a resort, just, let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know in the comments what your favorite resort is, and so on. There's so many good ones. But moving along, you can see here that boat access at Port Orleans. Now, at Port Orleans, when you're booking, you have the option of the French Quarter or Riverside. French Quarter is going to be more Mardi Gras themed. And they're known for the beignets in their quick service food area. And then Riverside is going to be where these royal rooms are located. So for instance, in the French Quarter, they will not have those royal rooms. Now that I'm also thinking about it, there's also the Disney resorts that are located on the boardwalk, which I believe they're considered deluxe. And you have, let's say, like Disney's Beach Club Resort, you have the Disney's Yacht Club Resort. Those also have Skyliner access. So now I'm going to have to go back and think, because that actually makes 4, 5, 6. Those boardwalk resorts, you can actually hop on the Skyliner and get to Hollywood Studios. Now, with the resorts that are located on Disney's boardwalk, if you're just planning on an Epcot stay and wanting to go to Epcot specifically, you can literally just walk from the boardwalk to Epcot. So for instance, that's Disney's Beach Club Resort, Disney's Boardwalk. Disney's Boardwalk I have not stayed at yet, so that's on my list. Disney's Yacht Club I haven't stayed at, that's also on my list. And then you also have, let's see, I'm trying to think of the other ones. It's Beach Club, Boardwalk, Disney's Yacht Club, and I feel like I'm missing one. But just keep in mind that anything located on the boardwalk, you're going to be able to walk right to Epcot, and then you can take the Epcot Skyliner to Hollywood Studios and also to the other resorts if you want to just check them out. Art of Animation has a fun little kids slide. I'm not sure if I show it in this video coming up, but they have a Finding Nemo slide that the kids love. You don't have to be a guest staying at the resort to play on that slide, which is nice. And then you can just walk around the resort just to see the theming if you want to have a fun time with the kids. So sometimes you don't necessarily have to go to the parks when you're staying at these Disney's resorts because there's so much to do. I know my son personally, he just loves riding the Skyliner as a ride. And if you put him on the Skyliner and then take him to the Finding Nemo slide at Disney's Art of Animation, he is set for the trip and he's happy as can be. So now coming up in this video, I'm also going to be showing you Disney's Grand Floridian Resort, Disney's Beach Club Resort. Some of them it's going to be club level, but I just want to give you an idea of what they look like in general, what the property looks like. I will also be showing you Disney's Animal Kingdom Resort. So if you're planning on going to, let's say, Animal Kingdom and you want to get those Animal Kingdom vibes, you can stay there, take the bus to Animal Kingdom. Obviously, that resort is going to be the closest to Animal Kingdom. You can also book a Savannah room that's overlooking the animals, which we have done before. I have a full video on that. Also coming up, more Art of Animation. And so that's my biggest key of advice is book the Disney resort that you want based on what you plan on doing for the trip. So if you're planning Magic Kingdom, you're going to book those monorail resorts. If you're planning on Epcot Hollywood Studios and you want to have easy Skyliner access, you're going to choose those resorts that I mentioned. And let's see what else. Now, if you're wanting a value trip, if you want to try to keep a trip under $500 and it's just a weekend type thing, you can book at Disney's All-Star Sports Resort, which we stayed at several times. And the pricing for that one is going to be value. That's going to be in between $90 to $180 during peak times. But with that one, obviously, you only have bus access, but of course, it's inside Disney Resort. So the bus access is free. You can't beat it. You can get to any park, obviously. And maybe if you're doing a little value resort trip, that gives you more money to do Disney character dining experiences. So yeah, guys, I hope this is somewhat helpful. I know these videos are kind of scattered around, but like I said, I just hit upload and wanted to include the most recent stays that we've had at Disney resorts. There are some that I'm missing, I'm sure, and that I will think of along the way. As always, guys, if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you love all things Disney, travel, cruising, because that's what I post. I also do some shopping hauls at TJ Maxx, the Disney stores, showing all the latest Disney merch. And let me see if I can think of anything else. So we covered some of the value resorts, which is going to be Disney's Pop Century Resort, Disney's All-Star, Disney's All-Star, Disney's Music, All-Star Music? I know I'm combining them. You have, what else? Those are the value ones. Then you have your moderate resorts such as Port Orleans, Let's see, Disney Cabins, that's going to be deluxe. There's so many, you guys, but those are the 3 tiers. Keep that in mind, and just base your Disney resort on where you're going. And if you just want to say, fudge it, I'm going to do all value, then book one of the value resorts: Disney All-Star Music, Disney All-Star Sports, Disney Pop Century, and so on. As always, guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and stay magical.
her.